Hey there, Joy of the World friends and family. I am Joy here to take an intuitive peek into what a topic. That is right. Look at this. So they're having me bring in these topics to open up for discussion because again, I am just the microphone, right? So as we bring the concept forward, then we're going to delve into it and find out what they have for us to know. And the topic now is spring fever. You're like, spring fever? You know, if you're showing up calendarically, you're like, well, it just turned autumn. But the thing is, just like the moon, how at the full moon it's come into fruition, and at the new moon, people often set intentions. They said we often become entrapped by time by allowing things to come to us, to take their time. Well, instead, we should take our time by investing it and looking forward into the future. And that doesn't mean trying to figure it all out. That means tuning into who we are right now and beginning to make those adjustments. It's kind of like if you've ever heard of Christmas in July, people start shopping and preparing then so that they don't have to do a big output or put anything on credit cards or charges or things like that when it all comes in at once, as if we didn't know it was coming. Now there are blossoms on the vine and ready to bring in the fruit. Just like the message the other day, that's what they were talking about when you open up to the possibility of knowing the unknown, which is knowable. We have Odin over here with Wild Woman, still sitting on these readings going, I hung by the tree and that's why I left the blank stone when I got the runes. It's because it's your blank canvas. It's your blank page. It's create yourself by setting not just these intentions of like words or murmurings in the mind. That intention is like a lamplight. It is like a focus. It is a direction. When we change the way we think, they're talking directionally, not the big organic blob. Okay. So I hope you're excited about that. If you are, stay tuned and let's walk this out. Also, if you're here and you find that you like this content, click that like button. It helps us rise to the top. Also, you can consider jumping on this Joy train and subscribing, getting on in here. It is free as always. It is just your vote for yourself. YouTube will notify you, some blossom in abundance coming on in. Something about you is excited about that. And I honestly would love to have you join us. What is else coming in the world? How to live in this world. We often weren't taught how to be truly human, how to be superhuman, how to be extraordinary, how to be divine. And that's what they're wanting to do here. So give us some answers, divine helpers and guides, angels, into this preparing for spring, this spring fever of how do we set our intention and do away with time by investing ourselves and allowing it to come to us in that way. Okay, interesting. Let's see, where can I set these guys? So we have blossoming, abundance, and woman holding a coin. We have 3 and we have 42. Now me, because I'm a little bit curious, I want to see what this knocked out of the way down below in the lower layers. What is beneath the surface of that iceberg? So hang on. I'll tell you about that in just a second. There's a whole plethora, and one thing is at the helm. Okay. We're talking about healing of the heart. So first and foremost is stepping into the flow, allowing the heart to flow into trust, because maybe that has to do away with feeling played in the past, feeling played by life, feeling the dangling carrot, feeling like you're lying to yourself or you're trying to make something pop out of thin air. That doesn't happen in our family. You know, how does money just show up to me? How does my son just get healed? You know, how do we get these court cases dropped? Any of that kind of stuff, you know, or how do I get a promotion when I don't have the same degrees as everybody else? How do I cause my marriage to flourish when it is in the garbage can? Those are the type of things that you're wanting to know. Ooh, look at that. Pardon me. I was saluting you. There we go. So it's this world. It's about knowing the day and night, the shadow and the light, bringing in the peace. We have community, man holding a coin, door to spirit, and the cornucopia. It seems that there is a lot you are missing out on due to this energy in the heart. Now, Raphael's not the one in the heart. Raphael is the one coming forward to heal the heart. Now, I can tell you personally, people are like, oh, talk to Raphael. You'll get the healing for your brain, mind, and body. I would tune into Raphael and Raphael wouldn't come. I didn't know what was up, but that's what we are stepping into here, is how do we begin to get into the flow, into the receptivity, changing our mind and putting our feelings into the belief that life does love us. Now, here's the background to that, okay? So when I was grabbing my decks to get them over here to the table, I was putting away Erte. All right, now, when I was looking at Maxfield Parrish, okay, these are playing cards or cartomancy, this was the one that had been left behind. It was the Two of Cups of all things. And look at that perpetual winter. That is not night. That is winter, y'all. Being stuck in the winter and in the night where you're never going to see the light of day. Those dreams will not see the light of day. Well, I will tell you, look at what that branch and that root is pointing at right there. You see that flower? Flower leads to fruit. And with that, I pulled in a clarity card. And it says, good things are coming my way. I am ready. Coming and going. They're saying, don't doubt. Okay, if you can't believe, just don't doubt. Stay neutral. And that's like going down a water slide. You just hop on and you allow it to carry you, which if you are new to this, that is conservation of some of your energy, and it allows that pure perfect will to flow on through. And it sets off the sparks and the boom, boom, boom of the heart to get on board as you see these things coming to pass, as you experience them in your world, as you begin to taste and see that you are loved. Dare I say, okay, cornucopia, door to spirit, man holding a coin, there's woman holding a coin, there's community, there's the world, there's blossoming abundance, and Raphael is here to offer the balance, okay? The relationship, the connection to oneself. All right. So that's pretty exciting. I'm going to lay these down beneath here, and I want to see what we have coming in with the sacred door. Sheena Marie, help me out, girl. I will get it with your continual love. Thank you. So as we are preparing for spring, tell us a little bit more about this, Spirit, about how do we open to Raphael's healing, reconnecting the relationship to ourselves. What is that? Trust. Okay, because trust is the way that the abundance comes in and the blossoming comes in. It is what allows it to be fruitful and fruition by taking root. So coming to fruition, so we don't have to learn through punishment, through correction. And I don't mean, correction. I'm talking about that type of thing, like, I told you so, see, that's what you deserve. Do you know how many times I've had people tell me that? Painful, isn't it? But that's why I'm devoted to being here for y'all, so that we can bring in this truth together, because I truly desire our joyous, happy world. Your joy too. So you flourish and thrive, and you what? Do. Let's see. Ooh, look at that. Moonlight enchantment and magic and the phrase shovel. That card came out, y'all. You just saw me. And then maple spirit, generosity. So it's talking about give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand in this, okay? Remember, if you can't believe, don't doubt. But the belief isn't just like this, okay, let me just sit here and do nothing. No, this is going to be inspirational and motivational, okay? It's going to be guided and directed. It's going to be loved and protected. That's what's coming in here. So Moonlight Enchantment is pointing right at man holding a coin. So they're wanting to talk about fortune, being fortunate, feeling lucky. So doing away with the despair, doing away with the feeling cursed, okay? And cursed to be alone for the rest of your life, cursed of always feeling different, not fitting in, square peg, round hole, black sheep, all of that mentality, because up above it, that is what your spirit is suffering and bound under. That's what it is capped with. Those are the limitations that have been set forth either by the experience that you had, maybe through ways of thinking in the family line or the community you grew up in. But woman holding a coin is up above it. And this is talking about your power and your how to power up that relationship with yourself. And remember, Maple Spirit was talking about give yourself a hand. Now, love this, because this is the autumnal colors coming on in. And regardless of where you live in the world, that just means right now when you show up, you can start right now, here today. It is knowable. It is viewable. And is what begins to bring you peace. It allows it to begin to overwrite the old feelings that kind of stir up, they go, oh, I know how this is going to go. Oh, I see where this is going. Because, you know, there's something in the human nature of wanting to be right. It's that safety mechanism of thinking that we're protecting ourselves when really it can be a form of limitation. Okay, so let's get, what do we want to do here? What do we want to find out, and how do we want to see it? So giving yourself a hand is by this planning, by this preparing, by unveiling to yourself what your strengths and your desires are, the things that feed you, even in the midst of this difficult season and situation, or this season of doubt. Okay, when in doubt, leave it out. Leave the doubt out. Leave it out. Stay neutral. Okay, that when you don't know what to do, I tell you, I've been at times where I flip a coin. It has been rough because I'm like, I don't even know myself anymore. How do I make these decisions anymore? You know, if you've been at this channel for a minute, you remember what I used to look like. Talk about losing yourself. And I don't just mean outwardly. In order for something to destroy me like that, you can imagine what it did to my insides, okay? Not even feeling the same. Now, with the man holding a coin, getting back into that fortune, into that future, and getting out the folly. There's the folly, because there's like some misrepresentation going on here. Do you see how he's illumined in the front, yet the sun is behind him? How is that possible? How is that possible? What light is shining upon you? What light is before you? Okay, so we have pure nature coming on in. So nature versus normal. That is what they're wanting you to nurture, not those old cliche sayings of like that. Well, that's what you get, you know, being able to express your truth of what your heart really hopes and desires, having that bit of a heart like a child. Even if you feel like you're standing alone here, okay? There's all of this nature. Heaven and nature are stepping in to offer their support here. That means it's going to begin to get down into the language of the heart. Okay, Raphael. Raphael's lighting up now like, thank you, joy. Whispering over his heart, she finally got it. I'm like, oh, help me, please. Now you know how to pray for me. And that whips open this door to spirit, okay? Your spirit will begin to understand and have this dialogue and conversation, whether it's wordy or not, or in your native language or not. It's going to be in your original language, the language of signs and symbols. Vision is our first connective device, okay? And then you'll begin to see the liberty, the liberation, that as you walk forward in it, all the blessings and rewards come along with it. What is that? The rest of the story, the restoration, where you come from, the provision of the stars. We do not come from earth. This is where we came to, okay? And that birth chart that you look at that say I'm a sun this or a moon that is your splat or your splash into this world. Now, we do not want to be limited to that, because that is simply a belt. That is a belt that runs through the sky. Imagine just having the rings of Saturn, which are made of ice, y'all, instead of the whole planetary experience, instead of the whole containment of the vessel. Okay, and with that, Lakshmi is lighting up, asking me to get y'all some tea cards here. Okay, blossoming abundance. What is going on with that statement? Needle and thread, a sincere wish to be granted. Ask. Okay, so just like Cinderella, man or woman, it doesn't matter. Just play along for a second. Cinderella wanted to go to the ball. Cinderella wasn't seeking the prince, or aka salvation, a change in her world, was just seeking a change of state in that moment of being able to have a life like everyone else, instead of feeling left out, instead of feeling isolated. Remember, instead of seeing that scenery, desolate, despair, those type of energies. Okay. What else about this blossoming abundance specifically, Lakshmi? Handshake, a meeting with a stranger could be important. And flute, disappointment in a friend or lover. Okay, there seems to be a clash of energies going on here, because how do you play a flute but with your hand? So it's talking about the notes you play, the songs you sing, the energy you're surrounding yourself with. When things get challenging or difficult, I mean, it happened to me earlier today. I was kind of getting, should we say, put in my place, or, guided to feel a certain way. And there I am, closed off, and my face is down, and I'm crying, and I was sitting there just quietly praying, asking, remember that sincere wish to be granted, asking, what do I do? What is this about? I don't understand. And instead of finishing with my statement, I went back to, what do I do? What is this about? And it's like, look up. Not like this, y'all. Lifting my head to at least look before me and began to feel my breaths going back into my body and lifting my shoulders some and placing them back and believing through my body language, through transforming my feelings, that I have a right to be in this world and a place here in it. And so that's my prayer for you too, friends, for you to experience the joy of that abundance of the belonging. And it's not just with people like it is over here in community. It's that being embraced by more than just where you came from. Being embraced for who you are. Okay, so that's that moonlight enchantment magic. And we have the cornucopia. Look at how the light begins to penetrate the forest. The forest for the trees. They used to tell me, they were like, well, if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears, does it really matter? Yes, it does. To heaven and nature, it does. To your heart, it does. Every little thing you do is magic. Every little thing she does is magic. So let's get a little bit of the Moon Magic Oracle going on here. These are some cards I have mixed together to give us a little bit on this enchantment, on this magic, because sometimes magic is the mundane. We can't even recognize it in front of us because it's coming in patterns as opposed to rituals. It seems to be a habit instead of acknowledgement. And it's not that those things are good or bad. It's the intention. Remember, the gathering of the energy and setting it forward like a flashlight into focus. So we have the petals, okay. The petals falling, letting it wane, letting this get past you. And they're like, no, right now, in this moment, little steps, little breaths, that tiny adjustment to my body language gave me courage, y'all. For how it's going to turn out and how things are going to go, I don't know. I'm not in control of all that. This is my world. This is what matters. And Raphael and the whole gang are talking about this is what matters to them too. This is like Odin here taking a look at you, saying, do you know what I see? You're extraordinary. And so you don't have to parcel out your love to be worthy of love. This is, they love me not. They love me, they love me not. That vacillation, that can be very much when we're in the different little pieces of our zodiac or being spun about by the nodes, like the Taurus Death Star node going around right now, okay? And it's not because it's the sign of Taurus, it's because where it is at, Taurus and Scorpio, it is here to clean house and not necessarily in a good way. So don't get swept away with it, nor throw the baby out with the bathwater, okay? Because they're talking about in the celestial sphere, whether you're in the first quarter or you're waxing or you're waning, you are whole. You are whole. And that's what they want you to know, to gather yourself together, bring yourself together. I love it, the liberation through labradorite. And you will see clearly that you are loved and adored, and what is important to you matters most to heaven, here to help you, here on earth, nature and heaven coming together to hold your hand, to guide you into this. Good things are coming your way. No, just say, I'm ready. And how do you say I'm ready? You begin to ask. You begin to ask if you feel fretful. You begin to ask if you feel alone. You begin to ask if you're afraid. And then before you know it, all this fluid, this flow is going to come in, and you'll be able to start standing up and saying when horrible things are just kind of like mashing around your mind. This isn't necessarily from people's lips, y'all. It can just be the echoes running around us, okay? It's not necessarily in your head. It can be around your head. And you can just start declaring, I don't think like that. I don't think like that, or that's not me anymore. Fresh new days, fresh new ways, and watch it begin to turn. Okay, now I'm breaking into a full sweat on that for whoever that is. And that does away with the wasting. Okay, the wasting of your time, the wasting of your day, because time is money. Why? Because it is an investment. It is the essence of who you are, because you put yourself into these well, intentions, into these visions, into these things, that those capsules of time help you begin to recognize who you are, whether it's through writing. Okay, we can see it takes time, but as you're measuring that out, you have a time to reflect and read back and go, wow, I didn't know I thought that. Or I wasn't aware I had that wisdom. That's where these readings are coming from. I'm still going to have the ones that fly off the cuff, but when I listen back to them, I'm beginning to extrapolate the topics and the information that we are going to explore further, okay? It's not just about hitting it off the cuff and getting us excited. It's about putting down the roots so we can set forth the fruits, because I truly desire your joy and abundance here on earth, because as you flourish and thrive, it makes my world a better place, okay? And better for us all. This Pipsissuia, it's tiny. Tell us about this tiny. Who's here to talk about this tiny? I still see that man with the coin and Raphael. Tell us about this tiny. Okay, I see who's talking. We're going to bring in this Tarot of the Spirit, I believe. I'll tell you, this journey's been long for me, y'all, because I could just hear through my head. They're talking about the moon. Little bitty rituals, okay. Doing away with the old crusty stuff. Clearing things out. Honing your focus. Maybe allowing your environment around you to line up with the one inside of you. It can be in the little touches and the little things. Okay, the Hanged Man. Creativity is colorful. The central channel, the Shishimna, is the light, and outside of it is the dark. They love and support one another. They give each its place. So, okay, so they're talking about, I remember, I heard you when I was making breakfast, they were talking about time to turn what into obstacles into opportunities. All right, so what we have is this obstacle of like, well, I would like to have these things. I would desire this experience. How do we turn these obstacles, or the people, places, and things that seem to just be running us ragged while we're still experiencing some of that Taurus, North Node, Scorpio, South Node, Death Star, that death wave, that death ray coming on through? Y'all, that does not make it sound delightful, because it ain't. Pardon me as I shimmy and shake the camera from this desk. So, allowing that support to come on through, trusting, taking things a little step at a time. Me, for right now, I'm building back after cancer, because like they did cook my body. I couldn't even sit up for over 6 months, really more about 9 months, walking more than 10 feet at a time. I could just fall down and fall out. And even eating food was almost impossible, because just trying to move my mouth wore me out. So they told me to do things a little bit at a time, a little bit of action, a little bit of rest. So maybe it's not just the day and night, but it's the action of day and night, that as you take those little bits of steps of flowing and then resting and reflecting, of going and then resting and reflecting, of motivating action and doing, and then getting into the restoring and receiving mode, that it passes through. Well, what they're really talking about is, it is a hallmark of a believer. It shows your trust in that, not having to force and demand and command it, not having to have the full hand in it, allowing yourself to operate when that energy is present, okay? So there are times I have more of that uprising energy, and that's when I try and do the things that are a little bit more active, but they're also leading me into doing things that are more spiritually reflective, like this. They're going, while you have that uprising energy, channel it forward, and then you're able to sit and reflect, okay? Then I can process through these videos. Also, the time of preparing your food to the time of eating your food. Make sure you sit down and you enjoy that meal. Make sure you bless that meal, and by blessing it, you look at it and look at what you've done. Appreciate your creativity, that investment of what you put in, and it's saying, don't lift your head. This old flute, that old song, psst. No. You are fortunate enough to be able to have that in front of you, and beginning to celebrate and appreciate that. It's not the lip service of, oh, thank you for this, thank you for that. No, like me, you could call it Reiki or whatever else. It increases the nourishment of the food. It lifts the vibration of the food, and it actually tunes it to your body that it's more receptive to it. And I look at it and I realize all the love that is there, all the offerings that are there, everything that gave its life, every person, every hand that picked it, and also it making its way to my house. Instead of focusing on the price of the money of what it cost or the time of what it cost, I look at what I'm receiving. And so I've shifted that mode, okay, from the action and the outward and the seeing it out to now the receiving it in. And so therefore it flows with the direction of my digestion, and that benefits my body, and it eases and facilitates, well, it facilitates ease as opposed to dis-ease, okay? So touch the sky, and that brings you into union with it. It gets you into the flow of starting to orient yourself. Like, to be self-centered is kind of like the Wonkavator. It can go any which way. And that's when we have our centrality. That's when we are centered in the self, the goldness self, and we're able to navigate, move about. As we begin to move our mindset in that way and we stay in the pure perfect flow, then we're not having to swim upstream anymore. No more efforting. I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. So let me see if I've got any more cards to bring in here. Let's see, preparing for spring. Hopefully this has made sense to y'all. Maybe even take some notes. I know I do. I got a lot to learn, y'all. Oh, that brings in fecundity. Look at that. Everything. Man or woman, everything, okay? Because the Empress in the receptivity, it's just like the time, because often the Empress is shown as expecting, or we could say pregnant, but let's get into this, man or woman, expecting. So no longer it's holding back or holding down or holding out. Now it is shifting into that receptive mode. Because as I do that, even with my meal, and I look at what all is there for me to receive, and I speak it out, that in my mind, that whatever is not good for me, to just move it on out with ease. That means I'm not afraid to let go. I'm allowing this to come on in. The expectancy begins to build because I'm not carrying the fractures and the stress and the strain and the burdens and the things that get me weighed down to where I'm having to act superhuman, okay? Can you imagine Superman spinning the earth when that kryptonite is on him? No, it is mind-numbing, it is deafening, it is destructive. And that Odin is sitting over here and is like, that is not how we called you to be. Extraordinary. And the extra doesn't mean extra effort. It just means awake, alive, aware, okay? Tuned into how energy flows. And it's not always just this kind of stuff, y'all. I'm working on that. And if I know more about that, and when I know more about that, I'm going to be so happy to share with you guys. So in the meanwhile, it is a simple way of living. And that not only crowns you with glory, it allows life to come in, and it satisfies life as well, because it is a mutual relationship. It is not a command, nor a demand, nor a reprimand. It's none of those, okay? It is the facilitation of life. It is the enjoyment of it. If you have felt like things have been wrong or out of whack, that's because first and foremost, we are here to enjoy our life. That's why it starts with appreciation, not with our lips, through celebrating, through following with the flow and beginning to have the aha moments. Even if we can't put them into words, our body begins to experience them, and that begins to change our experience, change our environment, freshen the air around us, lifting and exalting us into the forward in the future. Hey, we might revisit this topic again. I'm really excited about it. I've been wanting to bring y'all more meaningful content that is easily digestible and applicable as to how you can walk this out in your world. Okay, if it helped, leave a comment down below. Remember to touch that like, help us rise to the top. Maybe hit the subscribe or share it with a friend, save it to a playlist, whatever. Just know I love you, and all the videos on Joy the World are timeless, even if they are dated. So touch into any one of them that speaks to you. Trust your spirit. Trust. Hey, I love you. Bye, sunshine.